My dad's bratty new stepdaughter viciously bullied me at his wedding, not knowing I was about to be her stepsister. I hadn't seen my dad in 8 years when he texted me the wedding invitation. He'd left when I was 10, moved 3 states away, and basically started a new life without me. The invitation came with an awkward message saying he wanted me there, that it would mean a lot, that his new wife really wanted to meet me. I showed up to the venue alone, wearing a simple blue dress I'd bought at Target, feeling completely out of place among all these people I didn't know. The ceremony was at this expensive country club with massive white columns and perfectly manicured gardens. I stood near the back of the outdoor seating area, trying to be invisible. That's when this girl around 16 approached me with a look of pure disgust on her face. She was wearing a pink bridesmaid dress and had her hair done in these elaborate curls. She looked me up and down slowly and asked why I was dressed so cheap at her mom's wedding. Before I could answer, she grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks and told me I needed to leave immediately because I was bringing down the aesthetic of the venue. Her nails dug into my skin and I pulled away, but she stepped closer. I tried to explain I was invited, but she cut me off with this mean laugh. She said she personally approved the guest list with her mom, and I definitely wasn't on it. She called over 2 of her friends who were also bridesmaids. They surrounded me in a circle, laughing about how pathetic I looked trying to crash a wedding. One of them said I probably snuck in hoping to steal gift cards from the card box. The main girl got right in my face and told me if I didn't leave in the next 5 minutes, she'd get security to drag me out. I asked her name just to buy time while I figured out what to do. She smirked and said it was Natalie, not that it mattered since I'd be gone soon anyway. I tried to walk toward the ceremony area where I could see my dad standing near the front in his tux, but Natalie followed me with her little group. She kept making loud comments about my clearance rack dress, my drugstore makeup, my cheap shoes. Other guests were turning to stare and whisper. Every time I got close to the seating area, Natalie would block my path. She told me her mom's wedding was absolutely perfect and she wasn't going to let some random nobody ruin it. Her friends grabbed both my arms and started physically pushing me toward the side exit. I could have screamed or fought back, but something made me want to see how far she'd actually go. Maybe I was testing whether this family was worth joining at all. They shoved me into a marble hallway away from the main ceremony space. Natalie pulled out her phone and started recording me, saying she was going to post this on her Instagram story about the pathetic girl who tried to crash her mom's wedding. She got the camera right in my face, asking where I even came from, if I was homeless or just desperate for free food and alcohol. Her friends added their own comments while laughing. One said I looked like I'd been wearing the same outfit for a week straight. Another said I probably smelled bad and had I ever heard of deodorant. None of it was true, but Natalie kept recording, circling me with her phone camera like I was some kind of zoo animal. I finally asked her if she felt powerful bullying someone she didn't even know. She laughed and said she knew exactly what I was, a desperate nobody trying to get attention at someone else's special day. She said people like me made her physically sick, and I should be ashamed of myself for trying to insert myself into a family event where I clearly didn't belong. That's when a woman in an elegant cream mother of the bride dress appeared at the end of the hallway. She looked at Natalie with this expression of complete horror and asked what she was doing. Natalie's whole demeanor changed instantly. Got all sweet and innocent, said she was just helping escort an uninvited guest out before the ceremony started. The woman walked closer and stared at my face for a long moment. Her hand went to her mouth and she went completely pale. She asked my name in this shaky voice. When I told her, she closed her eyes like she was in pain. She turned to Natalie and said 6 words that made everything stop. And that's when Natalie realized what she'd just done. The rest of the story is linked below or on my channel. This is your father's daughter, Natalie. 6 words. That's all it took for my world to collide with Natalie's. For a moment, time freezes completely. The marble hallway feels like it's spinning around us as Natalie's perfectly made-up face drains of color until she's nearly as pale as her mother's cream dress. What? Natalie whispers, her voice barely audible. Her friends exchange panicked glances, phones suddenly disappearing into the folds of their pink bridesmaid dresses. The woman, Natalie's mother, my father's new wife, looks between us with growing horror. Her hand remains pressed against her mouth, like she's physically trying to hold back whatever else she might say. Mom, that's not. Natalie starts, but falls silent as footsteps echo down the hallway. My father appears, still handsome in his tux, but older than I remember. 8 years will do that. His expression shifts from confusion to absolute horror as he takes in the scene. Me backed against the wall, Natalie and her friends forming a half circle around me, her mother standing frozen between us. Emma, he says, and hearing my name in his voice after so long makes something twist painfully in my chest. What's going on here? Before I can answer, Natalie's mother finds her voice. Richard, did you not tell them about each other? Her voice rises with each word. Did you seriously not tell your daughter and my daughter they were about to become sisters? Dad's face falls. I wanted it to be a surprise, he says weakly. I thought they'd be happy to. Natalie, her mother cuts him off, her voice steel cold. Apologize to your stepsister. Right, now. Natalie looks like she might actually be sick. Her friends have backed away several steps, suddenly fascinated by the pattern on the marble floor. One of them is furiously typing on her phone, probably deleting whatever they'd recorded. I didn't, Natalie stutters, looking between her mother and me. I'm sorry, she finally manages, the words coming out hollow and forced. I didn't know who you were. That doesn't excuse how you behaved, her mother snaps. We'll discuss this later. My father finally approaches, hesitating before awkwardly putting his arms around me in what might be the most uncomfortable hug I've ever experienced. Emma, I'm so sorry. I had no idea this was happening. I've been looking for you everywhere. I stand stiffly in his embrace, not returning it. The scent of his cologne is the same as I remember from childhood, and it brings back memories I'd rather keep buried. Well, you found me, I say flatly. Or rather, your stepdaughter did. Dad releases me, stepping back with a pained expression. I should have told you both. I just thought. I wanted today to be special. It's certainly memorable, I say, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. Natalie's mother checks her watch, her professional composure returning. The ceremony was supposed to start 5 minutes ago. go. We need to deal with this quickly. She turns to Natalie. Go fix your makeup. You look terrible. And tell your friends to put those phones away completely, or they're leaving. Natalie nods jerkily and flees down the hallway toward what I assume is a bathroom, her friends scurrying after her. Her mother watches them go with narrowed eyes before turning back to us. Richard, handle this, she says tersely. I need to speak with the coordinator about the delay. She squeezes my arm gently as she passes. I'm sorry, Emma. We'll talk after the ceremony. Then she's gone, heels clicking rapidly against the marble. It's just me and my father now, standing in awkward silence in this fancy hallway where I was just being bullied by my apparent new stepsister. Emma, he begins, running a hand through his hair. I wanted to surprise both of you. I thought it would be nice for Natalie to have a big sister, and for you to have a sister too. I never imagined she would. Treat me like garbage? I finish for him. Record me on her phone to humiliate me online? Physically push me around and tell me I don't belong here? Dad winces with each accusation. She's usually not like that. She's had a hard time adjusting to all the changes. The wedding, the move, everything. Of course he's making excuses for her. Some things never change. I should go, I say, turning toward the exit. This was clearly a mistake. No, Dad reaches for my arm but stops short of actually touching me. Please stay, please. I haven't seen you in 8 years, Emma. I've missed so much. Just give me today. Give us a chance. I look at him, really look at him. The gray at his temples that wasn't there before. The lines around his eyes. The desperate expression of a man who knows he's screwed up. For a moment, I'm 10 years old again, watching him pack his bags while I begged him not to leave. Fine, I say finally. I'll stay for the ceremony, but I'm not promising anything else. Relief washes over his face. Thank you. That's all I'm asking for right now. The ceremony proceeds 30 minutes late, with whispers circulating among the guests about the delay. I sit in the back row, feeling every curious glance cast my way. Natalie stands at the front with her friends, her face a perfect mask of happiness that doesn't reach her eyes. Not once during the entire ceremony does she look in my direction. My father and his new wife exchange vows beneath an arch of white roses. They look happy together, I have to admit. He looks at her the way he never looked at my mother. At the reception, I sit alone at a table in the corner, nursing a glass of water and watching my new family from a distance. Natalie dances with her friends, laughs with relatives, poses for photos, all while carefully maintaining as much physical distance from me as possible. Dad comes to my table twice, making awkward small talk before being pulled away by well-wishers. His new wife, I should probably learn her name, smiles at me from across the room but doesn't approach. I stay until the cake is cut, watching this celebration of a new family being formed while feeling completely outside of it. When I finally slip away, no one notices, not even my father. As I walk to my car in the fading light, I wonder if this is how it's going to be from now on. Me on the periphery of my father's new life, tolerated but never truly included. The daughter he left behind, now an uncomfortable reminder of his past mistakes. I wonder if Natalie knows how lucky she is to have never known what it feels like to be abandoned by someone who was supposed to love you forever. 2 weeks after the wedding, my phone lights up with a text from my father. Family dinner tomorrow night at our place, 7 p.m. Would love to have you there. Please come. I stare at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wants to ignore it completely. Another part wants to type something scathing about how I'm not actually family. In the end, I just send, I'll think about it. His response is immediate. That's all I ask. Address is 1427 Oakwood Lane. Hope to see you. I spend the next 24 hours going back and forth. Mom notices my distraction during our weekly coffee meetup. You seem somewhere else today, she says, stirring her latte. Everything okay? Dad invited me to dinner at his house with his new family. Mom's spoon clinks against the side of her mug. Are you going? I don't know. After what happened at the wedding, I trail off, remembering Natalie's cruel words, the humiliation. Mom reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. You don't owe him anything, Emma, but maybe this is his way of trying to make things right. Or maybe he just wants to ease his conscience. That's possible too, she admits. Whatever you decide, I support you. By 6:45 the next evening, I find myself driving through one of those picture-perfect suburban neighborhoods where all the houses look like they belong in a magazine. Dad's address turns out to be a sprawling 2-story home with manicured landscaping and a 3-car garage. I park my beat-up Honda on the street, feeling immediately out of place. I check my reflection in the rearview mirror, suddenly self-conscious about my simple jeans and sweater. Taking a deep breath, I grab the bottle of wine I brought and walk up to the front door. My father answers before I can even ring the bell, like he's been watching for me through the window. Emma, he says, relief flooding his face. You came. I said I would, I reply, though technically I never confirmed. He steps aside to let me in, and I'm immediately struck by how beautiful their home is. Gleaming hardwood floors, high ceilings, artwork that probably costs more than my entire apartment. It's a physical reminder of the life he built after abandoning us. Diane is just finishing up in the kitchen, Dad says, taking the wine. Thank you for this. So that's her name, Diane. I've spent 2 weeks referring to her as Natalie's mom in my head. Speaking of Natalie, she appears at the top of the staircase, and the transformation is jarring. Gone is the sneering, vicious girl from the wedding. In her place stands a sweet-looking teenager in a modest sundress, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She actually smiles as she comes down the stairs. Emma, I'm so glad you could make it. Her voice is syrupy sweet, nothing like the contemptuous tone she used at the wedding. She hugs me briefly, and I stand there, frozen in shock. I was just telling Mom how excited I was to finally get to know my stepsister. I glance at my father, who's beaming at this display of sisterly affection. Does he actually believe this act? Diane emerges from the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron. Emma, welcome to our home. She hugs me warmly, and at least her friendliness seems genuine. Dinner's almost ready. Natalie, why don't you show Emma around while your father helps me bring everything to the table? Of course, Natalie chirps, linking her arm through mine. Come on, I'll give you the tour. As soon as we're out of earshot, her grip on my arm tightens painfully, and her voice drops to a hiss. Let's get something straight. This little dinner? It's for my mom and your dad. They want one big happy family, so I'm playing along. But you and I are not sisters. sisters. We will never be sisters. I pull my arm free. Trust me, I have no interest in pretending to be your sister either. Good. Her eyes narrow. Because I've spent the last 3 years being an only child, and I'm not about to share my mom with some charity case my stepdad dragged in. Charity case? I repeat, anger flaring. I'm his daughter. His actual daughter. The one he abandoned when I was 10. Natalie rolls her eyes. Yeah, well, he chose us. Remember that. She glances toward the dining room where our parents are setting the table. Now smile and act like we're getting along great, or this is going to be awkward for everyone. Just like that, her face transforms back into the sweet, welcoming expression she wore earlier. And this is my room, she says loudly, opening a door to reveal a spacious bedroom decorated in soft pinks and whites. Maybe sometime we could have a sleepover or something. I force a smile that feels more like a grimace. That would be something. During dinner, Natalie continues her performance, asking me questions about college and my job at the bookstore with seemingly genuine interest. Dad and Diane exchange pleased glances, clearly delighted that we're bonding. I play along, answering her questions politely while trying to ignore the insincerity behind her smile. It's only when I excuse myself to use the bathroom that I get a moment of peace. As I wash my hands, I notice Natalie's phone charging on the counter. The screen lights up with a notification, and I freeze when I see my own face on the display. It's a still from a video, me at the wedding, looking uncomfortable and out of place in my blue Target dress. Without thinking, I pick up the phone. It unlocks automatically. No password, seriously? And I'm staring at Natalie's Instagram account. The video from the wedding is there, posted 2 days ago. The caption reads, "When your new stepsister shows up looking like she shopped at Goodwill, awkward not family." The comments are worse. People mocking my dress, my makeup, my shoes, calling me trailer trash and the help, and Natalie responding with laughing emojis and additional insults. My hands shake as I scroll through the comments. This isn't just a moment of meanness at the wedding. She's continuing to humiliate me online, where everyone can see it. I take screenshots of everything, sending them to my own phone before carefully putting hers back exactly as I found it. When I return to the dining room, I'm seething with anger, but I manage to maintain my composure through the main course. It's during dessert that I finally snap. "So, Natalie," I say casually, setting down my fork, "how many views did your wedding video get?" The table goes silent. Natalie freezes with her spoon halfway to her mouth. "What video?" Dad asks, looking between us. "Oh, you haven't seen it?" I pull out my phone and slide it across the table to him. Natalie posted a lovely video of her bullying me at the wedding. It's got quite a following. Dad's face pales as he scrolls through the screenshots. Diane leans over to look, her expression shifting from confusion to horror. "Natalie Marie Henderson," she says, her voice deadly quiet. "What is this?" Natalie's sweet facade crumbles. "It's just a joke, Mom. Everyone posts stuff like this. Everyone publicly humiliates family members." I ask, "That's normal to you?" "She's not family," Natalie snaps, mask completely gone now. "She shows up after 8 years in some cheap dress from Target and suddenly I'm supposed to treat her like a sister?" "Natalie!" Diane gasps. Dad looks stricken. "Emma, I had no idea." "Of course you didn't." I cut him off. "You never do you? You didn't know abandoning your 10-year-old daughter would hurt her. You didn't know springing a new stepsister on Natalie at your wedding might cause problems. You didn't know she was continuing to bully me online. You never know because you never bother to find out. She's just a teenager," Diane says, though her voice lacks conviction. "Teenagers make mistakes." "This isn't a mistake," I say, standing up. "This is deliberate cruelty, and you're making excuses for it, just like he always made excuses for walking out on his family." I grab my purse and head for the door. Dad follows me, catching my arm in the foyer. "Emma, please, don't go like this. We can work this out." "Work what out?" I ask, yanking my arm free. "The fact that your stepdaughter hates me, or the fact that you've spent 8 years building a new family while completely forgetting about your old one?" "I never forgot about you," he insists, his eyes pleading. "I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I want to fix them. Please give me a chance." I look at him standing in his perfect house with his perfect new family, and all I can think about is Mom working double shifts to keep our apartment after he left, me wearing secondhand clothes because we couldn't afford new ones, the birthdays and Christmases he missed. "I gave you a chance," I say quietly. "I came to your wedding. I came here tonight, and all I got was more proof that nothing has changed." I walk out, ignoring his calls behind me. I make it to my car before the tears start, hot and angry down my cheeks. My phone buzzes with a text from Dad the next morning. "I'm so sorry about last night. Natalie's been grounded and her phone taken away. Please, can we try again? Maybe family counseling? Just the 3 of us?" I stare at the message for a long time, thinking about walking away completely. It would be easier, but something makes me type, "Fine, 1 session, that's all I'm promising." His response is immediate, "Thank you. I'll set it up. I love you, Emma." I don't reply to that last part. The first counseling session is as uncomfortable as I expected. The therapist, Dr. Winters, has an office with soft lighting and comfortable chairs arranged in a circle. Dad arrives first, then me. We sit in awkward silence until Natalie arrives with Diane, who drops her off but doesn't stay. "So, Dr. Winters begins after introductions. I understand there's been some difficulty integrating your blended family." Natalie snorts. Dad shoots her a warning look. "That's putting it mildly," I say. "My father abandoned me when I was 10, showed up 8 years later with a new wife and stepdaughter, and now seems surprised that we're not one big happy family." "I didn't abandon you," Dad protests. "I paid child support. I called on holidays. Twice a year is not parenting." I snap. "It's barely acknowledging my existence." Dr. Winters turns to Natalie. "And how do you feel about all this, Natalie?" She crosses her arms defensively. "I feel like everyone expects me to be thrilled about sharing my mom and my home with someone I don't even know." "No one expects you to be thrilled," I say. "Just not cruel." "Cruel?" Dr. Winters prompts. Dad clears his throat. "Natalie posted some unkind things online about Emma. She recorded herself bullying me at their wedding and posted it for everyone to see." I clarify. "Called me trash, mocked my clothes, physically pushed me around." Dr. Winters turns to Natalie. "Is this true? She doesn't belong in our family," Natalie says instead of answering. "She shows up after 8 years expecting expecting what? That we'll welcome her with open arms? That my mom will suddenly have 2 daughters? I didn't expect anything, I say. I came to the wedding because my father invited me. That's it. And posted that video because, Dr. Winters asks Natalie gently. Because it was funny, Natalie explodes. Because my friends thought it was hilarious that my stepdad's daughter showed up looking like she couldn't afford a proper dress. Because she stops suddenly, tears welling in her eyes. Because what? Dr. Winters prompts. Because everyone was suddenly looking at her. Natalie's voice cracks. Mom spent the whole morning talking about finally meeting Richard's daughter. How excited she was to have another daughter. Like I wasn't enough anymore. The room falls silent. Dad looks stunned. Is that how you felt? Dr. Winters asks. Not enough? I've always been enough, Natalie says, but her voice wavers until she showed up. Before anyone can respond, she stands abruptly. This is stupid. I'm not doing this. She storms out, slamming the door behind her. Dad starts to rise, but Dr. Winters holds up a hand. Give her a moment. This is actually progress. She's expressed a real feeling. I sit there, processing Natalie's outburst. For the first time, I see beyond the mean girl facade to the insecurity underneath. It doesn't excuse her behavior, but it explains it a little. I think, Dr. Winters says into the silence, we have a lot of work to do. As I leave the session, I wonder if any amount of therapy can fix what's broken between us or if it's even worth trying. A week after the disastrous counseling session, I'm scrolling through Instagram when a notification pops up. Someone tagged me in a post. My stomach drops when I see Natalie's username. Despite having her phone confiscated after the dinner incident, she's somehow posting again. The tag isn't on her main account, but on a private one I didn't know existed. I tap to view it and immediately wish I hadn't. It's a photo of me leaving Dr. Winters' office, clearly taken from a car window. The caption reads, "Charity case needs therapy to deal with daddy issues. Damaged, not me sister." I stare at my phone, a familiar mix of hurt and anger washing over me. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my phone buzzes with a text from my classmate Zoe. Hey, have you seen what Natalie's posting about you? It's all over school. All over school? I text back. What do you mean? Her response comes quickly. She goes to Westlake, right? My cousin goes there too. Says Natalie's been showing everyone videos of you from the wedding and telling stories about how you're trying to steal her family's money. I close my eyes, trying to breathe through the wave of humiliation. This isn't just petty teenage drama anymore. This is systematic harassment. I call Dad, my hands shaking slightly. Emma? He sounds surprised to hear from me. Everything okay? No, everything is not okay, I say, keeping my voice steady. Natalie's still posting about me online. She's telling everyone at her school that I'm after your money. There's a long pause. Are you sure? Diane took her phone away after the dinner. She has another account. I'm looking at it right now. I forward him screenshots of the posts. This isn't going to stop, Dad. She's escalating. I'll talk to her, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. Talking isn't working. I snap. This is beyond normal teenage behavior. She needs actual consequences. She's going through a difficult adjustment period. Stop making excuses for her. The words burst out louder than I intended. I was 10 when you left. Did I get an adjustment period to harass people and make their lives miserable? Did Mom? The silence on the other end stretches uncomfortably. I'll handle it, he finally says. I promise. But his promises don't mean much to me anymore. 2 days later, I receive a text from an unknown number. It's a link to a local news article from 3 years ago about a scholarship program for low-income students at Westlake Academy. The headline reads, "Prestigious school faces backlash after scholarship student bullied out." Curious, I open it and start reading. The article details how a girl named Maya Chen received a full academic scholarship to Westlake, only to withdraw after months of relentless bullying from wealthy classmates. The school promised an investigation, but no students were ever disciplined. At the bottom of the text is a simple message. Natalie was the ringleader. She does this to anyone she sees as beneath her. I have proof if you want it. I stare at the message, unsure how to respond. Before I can decide, another text comes through. This is Ellie. I was Maya's friend. I still have all the messages and videos. I hesitate only briefly before responding. I'd like to see them. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop near campus. Ellie turns out to be a quiet girl with glasses and a serious expression. She slides into the booth across from me with a laptop. I don't know if you remember me, she says. I was at your dad's wedding. My mom works with Diane. I vaguely recall seeing her among the guests, but hadn't made the connection. I saw what happened in the hallway, she continues, her voice low. What Natalie did to you. It wasn't the first time. She opens her laptop and pulls up a folder labeled NH Evidence. Maya wasn't the only one, Ellie explains, clicking through files. There were at least 4 others I know of, scholarship kids mostly. Anyone Natalie decided didn't belong at Westlake. The files contain screenshots of group chats, videos of confrontations in school hallways, fake social media accounts created to mock specific students, all orchestrated by Natalie. Why are you showing me this? I ask, feeling slightly sick as I scroll through the evidence. Because someone needs to stop her, Ellie says simply. The school won't. Her parents won't. And now she's targeting you. I close the laptop, overwhelmed. Have you shown this to anyone else? I tried showing the school administration after Maya left. They said there wasn't enough evidence it was specifically Natalie. Ellie's mouth twists bitterly. Her mom is on the board of trustees. I thank Ellie for the information and head home, my mind racing. This changes things. Natalie isn't just a spoiled teenager lashing out at a new stepsister. This is a pattern of deliberate cruelty toward anyone she perceives as lower class. That evening, I get a surprising call from Diane. Emma, it's Diane. I hope it's okay that I'm calling you directly. It's fine, I say cautiously. I wanted to apologize, she says, her voice tight. I've seen the posts Natalie's been making. I had no idea she had a second phone. And I've been talking to some parents at Westlake. This isn't the first time she's done something like this. The admission surprises me. No, it's not. Your father is still making excuses for her, Diane continues. He says she just needs time to adjust. But I'm starting to think this is more serious than typical teenage behavior. It is, I confirm. I've seen evidence of what she's done to other students at Westlake. There's a pause. Would you be willing to show show me? We arrange to meet at a cafe the next day. I bring copies of everything Ellie shared with me. Diane reviews it silently, her face growing increasingly pale. I didn't want to believe it, she whispers, setting down a particularly cruel message Natalie had sent to Maya. I knew she could be difficult, but she's been systematically targeting people she thinks don't belong in her world, I say, including me. Diane looks up, tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Emma. I should have seen this. I should have done something sooner. For the first time, I feel a flicker of sympathy for her. She's facing the painful realization that her daughter isn't who she thought she was. What happens now? I ask. I'm getting her into therapy, real therapy, not just family counseling. Diane's voice hardens with resolve, and there will be consequences for what she's done. When I return to my apartment that evening, I find the door slightly ajar. Alarmed, I push it open cautiously, ready to call 911. Inside, nothing seems disturbed except for my desk, where my laptop is open. A notebook I don't recognize sits beside it, pink leather with a small lock, the kind teenage girls use for diaries. I approach it warily, as if it might bite. There's a sticky note on top with messy handwriting. I know you were at the cafe with my mom. Read this if you want to know why. It's Natalie's diary. My first instinct is to close it and call Dad. This feels like a trap, but curiosity wins out, and I carefully open to a page marked with another sticky note. May 15th. Mom told me today that Richard wants his daughter at the wedding. His real daughter, the one he abandoned for us. Why does she have to come? Everything was perfect before. Now Mom keeps talking about how excited she is to meet Emma, how nice it will be to have another daughter. Like I'm not enough anymore. Like our family needs someone else. I flip to another marked page. June 8th. Mom and Richard were arguing about Emma again. Mom wants her to be a bridesmaid. Richard says she probably won't even come. I hope she doesn't. Mom's already talking about how we'll do sister things together. I don't want a sister. I don't want to share Mom with anyone else. Richard already takes up so much of her time. The entries continue, revealing Natalie's growing anxiety about her mother's remarriage, her fear of being replaced, her anger at my father for bringing me back into his life. The last entry is from yesterday. I messed up. Mom found out about everything. The posts about Emma, what happened with Maya and the others. She's never looked at me like that before. Like she didn't even know me. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe I don't know myself anymore either. I close the diary, conflicted. Natalie's actions were inexcusable, but for the first time, I understand where they came from. Fear. The same fear I felt when Dad left, that I wasn't enough to make him stay. There's a soft knock at my still open door. Natalie stands in the hallway, arms crossed defensively. Did you read it? She asks, not meeting my eyes. Yes. She nods once, still not looking at me. So now you know. It doesn't excuse what you did, I say quietly. I know. Her voice is barely audible. I just wanted you to understand why. I study her. This girl who's caused me so much pain. She looks smaller somehow, without her friends flanking her or her parents making excuses. You were afraid, I say, of being replaced, of losing your mom's attention. Her eyes snap up to mine, surprised. Yeah, I know what that feels like, I continue. When my dad left, I spent years wondering what I did wrong. What was wrong with me that made him leave? Natalie's composure cracks slightly. Did you ever figure it out? Yeah, nothing was wrong with me. It was his choice, his failure. I step aside, gesturing for her to come in. Just like bullying others is your choice. She enters hesitantly, perching on the edge of my couch. Mom's making me see a therapist 3 times a week. Good. And I'm suspended from school. They're reviewing whether I can come back next semester. I nod, unsurprised. Actions have consequences, Natalie. I know that, she snaps, a flash of her usual attitude returning. Then she deflates again. Sorry, I'm trying to not be like that. We sit in awkward silence for a moment. What was he like? She finally asks. Before he left? The question catches me off guard. My dad? He was fun, always planning adventures. He taught me to ride a bike and swim. He read me stories every night. I pause, the memories bittersweet, until he didn't anymore. He never reads to me, Natalie says quietly. He tries to buy me things instead. Like that makes up for not really being there. The realization hits me that despite having my father in her home for years, Natalie might know him even less than I do. That sounds familiar, I admit. A noise in the hallway draws our attention. Dad and Diane stand in the doorway, both looking relieved and slightly stunned to find us talking civilly. We were worried when we couldn't find you, Diane says to Natalie. Your location was showing here. I came to talk to Emma, Natalie says, straightening her shoulders, to apologize for everything. Dad steps forward, his expression serious. We all need to talk, as a family. The word family still feels strange, applied to this collection of people, but I gesture for them to come in. We sit around my small living room, the tension palpable. Dad clears his throat. Emma, I've been making excuses. For Natalie, yes, but mostly for myself. His voice wavers slightly. I failed you when I left. I failed you again by not preparing either of you for meeting each other, and I've been failing both of you by not acknowledging the real problems. It's the most honest thing he's said since reappearing in my life. Natalie, he continues, turning to her, what you've done is unacceptable. The bullying, the videos, all of it. There will be serious consequences, and you will make amends. Night. Natalie nods, subdued. And Emma, he turns back to me. I know I can't make up for the past 8 years, but I want to try to be a better father now, if you'll let me. I don't respond immediately. His words sound sincere, but I've heard promises before. I'm not ready to forgive you, I say finally. Either of you, I add, looking at Natalie, but I'm willing to try something with boundaries. Diane speaks up. That's fair. We're getting Natalie the help she needs. Real therapy, not just family counseling. And we'd like to continue the family sessions as well, if you're willing. I have conditions, I say firmly. First, no more excuses. Natalie takes responsibility for her actions, and so do you, Dad. They both nod. Second, I need space. This doesn't mean weekly dinners and pretending we're one big happy family. This means slow, careful steps. Whatever you need, Dad says quietly. And third, I look directly at Natalie. You make things right with the other students you bullied. All of them. Natalie looks away, then back at me with reluctant determination. Okay, then we can try, I say. As they prepare to leave, Dad hangs back. Emma, I know words aren't enough, but I am sorry for everything. I look at him, really look at him. The father who left, who missed 8 8 years of my life, who's trying, however imperfectly, to make things right. I know, I say simply. After they're gone, I sit alone in my apartment thinking about families, the ones we're born into, the ones that break apart, and the ones we might, with work and time and honesty, build from the broken pieces. I don't know if we'll ever be a real family, but for the first time, it seems possible that we might at least stop hurting each other, and maybe that's enough of a place to start. 6 months have passed since that family meeting in my apartment, and sometimes I still can't believe how much has changed. The seasons shifted from winter to spring, and now summer heat blankets the city as I sit on a bench outside Dr. Winter's office, waiting for Natalie to finish her session. Yes, I'm voluntarily waiting for Natalie. Life is full of surprises. She emerges 15 minutes later, her face slightly puffy around the eyes, but composed. She's wearing her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail these days, her designer clothes replaced by more casual outfits. Today it's just jeans and a t-shirt. The transformation still catches me off guard sometimes. Hey, she says, dropping onto the bench beside me. Thanks for waiting. No problem. How'd it go? She shrugs, fidgeting with the strap of her purse. Good, I guess, doctor. Kim says I'm making progress with the whole not needing to tear others down to feel secure thing. She rolls her eyes, but there's no real malice behind it. We talked about college applications today, about how I need to choose schools I actually want to attend, not just where my friends are going. I nod, remembering my own college selection process. No fancy private schools for me, just state university with scholarships and student loans. Have you thought more about UCLA? Yeah, she looks down at her hands. Mom thinks it would be good for me to have some distance, a fresh start where people don't know everything. I think she might be right. Natalie and I walk toward the parking lot, an easy silence between us that would have been unimaginable 6 months ago. We're not exactly friends, definitely not sisters, but we've reached something like a truce. Dad's meeting us for lunch, she says as we reach my car. He's bringing those medical school brochures he mentioned. My stomach tightens slightly at the mention of my father. Our relationship has improved, but there are still moments when the old pain resurfaces. Great, I say, trying to sound enthusiastic. Dad is already waiting at the restaurant when we arrive, a stack of glossy brochures spread across the table. He stands when he sees us, his smile slightly anxious as always. Emma, Natalie, he greets us, pulling out chairs. I ordered appetizers. Thanks, Dad, I say, the words still feeling strange in my mouth after so many years of not using it. He pushes the brochures toward me. I've been researching medical schools like you mentioned. These all have excellent programs. I flip through them. Johns Hopkins, Stanford, Mayo Clinic, schools I'd never even considered because of the astronomical costs. These are all top-tier schools. And you deserve a top-tier education, he says firmly. Diane and I want to help with the application fees. And if you get in, we want to help with tuition. The old Emma would have refused immediately, too proud to accept his money after years of absence. But I've learned that healing sometimes means accepting help, even from people who've hurt you. I'll think about it, I say instead. Thank you. Dad's relief is visible. That's all I ask. Lunch progresses with surprisingly easy conversation. Natalie talks about her therapy, her college plans. Dad discusses a project at work. I share stories about my job at the campus bookstore. It's almost normal. As we're finishing dessert, Dad clears his throat. Emma, I wanted to ask you something. Your graduation is next month, and I was wondering, would it be okay if Diane and I attend? The question catches me off guard. I hadn't even considered inviting them. Mom will be there. Of course. The thought of my fractured family trying to coexist in one space makes my anxiety spike. You don't have to answer now, he adds quickly, seeing my hesitation. Just think about it. I'll let you know. I promise. Later that week, I'm studying in my apartment when there's a knock at the door. I open it to find Diane standing there, looking slightly uncomfortable. Emma, I hope I'm not interrupting, she says. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by. It's fine, I say, stepping aside to let her in. We've developed a cautious relationship over the past months. Not quite friends, but no longer strangers either. She sets a folder on my coffee table. I brought some information about medical school scholarships. My colleague's daughter just went through the application process last year. Thanks, I say, genuinely touched by the gesture. Diane sits on the edge of my couch, hands clasped in her lap. I also wanted to talk to you about your graduation. Richard mentioned he asked about attending. He did. I understand if you're not comfortable with us being there. It's your day, and you should celebrate it however feels right to you. I study her face, searching for manipulation or hidden agenda, but find only sincerity. I'm worried about it being awkward, I admit, with my mom there too. Diane nods. I've thought about that. I could reach out to your mother beforehand if you'd like. Make sure she knows we're not trying to intrude on her time with you. The offer surprises me. You'd do that? Of course. She hesitates. Emma, I know I can never replace your mother, nor would I want to, but I do care about you. I want to support you, if you'll let me. Her words are simple but powerful. For so long, I've seen Diane as an extension of my father's betrayal, the woman he chose over our family. But sitting here in my apartment, offering to navigate a potentially awkward situation for my benefit, she's just a person trying her best. I'd like all of you to be there, I decide. It might be awkward, but it's important to me. Diane's smile is warm. Thank you. My graduation day arrives with perfect weather, sunny but not too hot. I stand in line with my fellow graduates, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. Mom is easy to spot, waving enthusiastically from the third row. Dad, Diane, and Natalie sit a few rows behind her, all dressed in their Sunday best. As I cross the stage to receive my diploma, I hear cheers from both sides of my fragmented family. Something warm unfurls in my chest. Not quite happiness, but perhaps its quieter cousin, contentment. At the reception afterward, I introduce my boyfriend Alex to my father for the first time. Alex comes from a background similar to mine. Working-class parents, scholarship student, part-time jobs to make ends meet. I'd been nervous about this meeting, worried Dad might judge him the way Natalie once judged me. It's great to finally meet you, sir, Alex says, extending his hand. Emma talks about you a lot. Dad shakes his hand firmly. All good things, I hope? Mostly, Alex says with a grin that makes me love him even more. To my surprise, Natalie appears beside us, offering Alex Alex a genuine smile. Hey, I heard you're into photography too. Emma mentioned you're working on a documentary project. Alex lights up, and soon he and Natalie are deep in conversation about cameras and lighting techniques. I watch them, amazed at how easily Natalie has slipped into a friendly conversation with someone she would have dismissed as beneath her notice just months ago. She's really changed, Dad says quietly, following my gaze. She's trying, I acknowledge. We all are. Later, as the reception winds down, I find myself standing with both my parents for the first time in years. The awkwardness is palpable but not overwhelming. I'm so proud of you, Mom says, squeezing my hand. First college graduate in our family. We both are, Dad adds. He hesitates, then continues. I know I nearly lost you, Emma, twice. When I left, and then again with everything that happened after the wedding. I can't change the past, but I want you to know how grateful I am for this second chance. Mom's expression softens slightly. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps understanding. You've worked hard for everything you've achieved, she tells me. Don't ever forget that. 2 weeks after graduation, Dad surprises us all by suggesting a family vacation. Just a weekend at the lake house, he says. Low pressure, no expectations. I agree with some trepidation. 4 days with my new blended family still feels like a social experiment that could explode at any moment. The lake house turns out to be beautiful. A modern cabin with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. I share a room with Natalie, an arrangement that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. On our second night, I find Natalie sitting on the dock, feet dangling in the water. I hesitate, then sit beside her. Penny for your thoughts? I ask. She glances at me, then back at the water. I was just thinking about Maya Chen. The name catches me off guard. The girl from Westlake, the one you bullied? Natalie winces but nods. I reached out to her last month, apologized for everything. How did that go? About as well as you'd expect. She kicks at the water, creating ripples. She told me to go to hell, said an apology doesn't erase what I did. She's right, I say gently. It doesn't. I know. Natalie looks up at the stars. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted her to know I understand now how wrong I was, that I'm trying to be better. We sit in silence for a while, listening to the water lap against the shore. Can I ask you something? Natalie says finally. Do you think you'll ever really forgive Dad for leaving you? The question hits me in a tender spot. I don't know. I answer honestly. I'm trying. Some days it's easier than others. And me? For how I treated you? I turn to look at her directly. I think forgiveness is a process, not a destination. We're somewhere in the middle of it. Natalie nods, accepting this incomplete answer. Fair enough. The next morning, I wake early and find Dad in the kitchen making coffee. He offers me a cup, and we sit on the porch watching the sunrise over the lake. I never thanked you, I say suddenly. For what? For not giving up. After the wedding, after that first dinner, you could have walked away again. It would have been easier. Dad is quiet for a long moment. The easiest choice isn't always the right one. I learned that the hard way. He stares into his coffee cup. When I left you and your mother, I told myself it was for the best, that I wasn't cut out for family life or responsibility. I was wrong, Emma. So wrong. Why did you reach out after all those years? Why the wedding invitation? He sighs deeply. Diane, actually. When we got engaged, she asked about you, wanted to know why we weren't close. I gave her the same excuses I'd been giving myself for years, and she called me on it, said I was being a coward. I raised my eyebrows, surprised. She did? She did. Said if I was man enough to start a new family, I needed to be man enough to face the one I'd abandoned. He smiles ruefully. She's not wrong very often. On our last day at the lake, we take a group photo on the dock. Dad, Diane, Natalie, and me. As the timer counts down, Natalie whispers something that makes me laugh just as the camera flashes. Later, looking at the photo, I'm struck by how natural it seems. Not perfect, not without complications, but real. A snapshot of a family in progress. Back in the city, life returns to its new normal. Dad and I meet for coffee weekly. Diane sends me articles about medical school programs. Natalie texts occasionally with memes or random thoughts. One evening, I'm sorting through old photos for a scrapbook when I find the wedding picture. Me standing awkwardly in my blue Target dress, looking out of place amid the luxury. I remember the humiliation of that day, the pain of Natalie's cruelty, the shock of discovering our connection. If someone had told me then that 6 months later I'd be voluntarily spending time with these people, I would have laughed in their face. Yet here we are. My phone buzzes with a text from Natalie. Dr. Kim says I should practice gratitude. So, thanks for not giving up on me when you had every reason to. I smile, typing back, thanks for doing the work to become someone worth not giving up on. A moment later, she sends, too sappy? Definitely, I reply. But true, this new family of ours isn't perfect. There are still awkward moments, old hurts that surface unexpectedly, boundaries that need reinforcing, but there's also growth and effort and the slow rebuilding of trust. Sometimes family isn't what you're born into or what you lose. Sometimes it's what you painfully, imperfectly create from the broken pieces of the past. Not a replacement for what was lost, but something new entirely. As I put away the wedding photo, I realize I no longer feel the sting of humiliation when I look at it. Instead, I see the beginning of a complicated journey, one that started with cruelty, but has led, surprisingly, to something like healing.